Welcome back to another episode of Smart Donkeys. I'm your host, Jared. Alongside me is the other host,
Cohort.
Brian. Cohort?
Brian.
What is the hort?
Or brain, as people regularly refer to me.
Is what?
Brain.
Brain?
Well, customers.
Why do they call you brain?
Because there's language barrier. And they always say, "Thank you, brain."
I like you, brain.
Thank you, brain.
You have nice brain.
Brain, I have a big problem. Brain, you fix. No. Superman.
Should we disclose what we do for a living on here? Is that a bad idea?
Well, yeah. I don't know.
I don't know either. I feel like that's...
We could disclose like I'm in sales to a certain capacity, and you're in the trades. Whereas,
I think I'd rather us disclose, like on that last episode. I think I'd rather cut out location and just I'm okay with like what we do for a living.
Sure,
as long as nobody knows where we do it. I just don't want to be bothered. Yeah, let me clarify that for everybody. It's not like we want to be... I mean, there's some level of privacy doing this, and that was one of the biggest things for me getting started with doing this is... Like, I don't want anybody tracking me down to be able to, meet me in person. Like, we are doing this as... I mean, for me, it's a reason just to hang out.
Yeah.
And to hopefully a little extra money to make some ends meet.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And have fun doing it in the meantime.
I don't know. I think it's fun.
No, I think it's a great idea. Yeah, and you've put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot more that goes into this than I realized.
Yeah, so kudos to everybody that's already gone over most of the hurdles.
That's the thing. I just don't get how like some of these guys do this where they're not talking with another person. They have to just come up with material on their...
Yeah, you either have to be like
fly.
an expert on something that you think is worth sharing or just have very interesting thoughts.
Well, it's kind of like those when I wanted to do the how-to videos with woodworking, and I don't know, the editing alone was a nightmare trying to get that figured out, because you're doing one project and then you have to piece together all that video and make it look halfway decent. And by the time you've got to do the project on top of that, which can take, well, this last project I just got done with, I sent you and Mike the photos of that, I think.
Yeah, speaking of which, that turned out great.
Yeah, I was really happy with that. And so was the customer. But I mean, that took me, I quoted it out for 22 hours, and it ended up being more like 36, I think is what I figured.
Wow.
Yeah, I was way over. But I stuck to what my quote was.
Sure.
Charging them wise, because I feel like that's not their fault if I give them a bad quote.
Yeah, and you're still kind of figuring out how to build stuff out, I'm sure. You're just taking a stab at the dark for the most part.
Yeah.
And as you keep doing it, you'll just develop, you'll be like second nature, like, oh, this is
right.
You'll dial it in more and more.
Well, it doesn't help either. Well, you've seen my shop. It's only 20 feet by 20 feet. It's not very big.
But the space that you have, it's legit.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've utilized it well, but like, boy, you got just one of those pieces in there, and then you have to make one other piece. You feel like you're just stumbling around everything. But anyway,
yeah.
Where was that going before the woodworking?
Did you? Well,
woodworking videos.
Yes, the how-tos.
Okay, we'll come back to the woodworking videos. I just wanted to remember where we started. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say, did you build that project at your shop and then assemble it on location, or did you build it on site?
Well,
Or a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. So I made that in. Well, I should probably preface so that our one viewer knows what I did. So I built a corner. I'm going to call it a boot box for lack of better word, but essentially a spot for you to sit down and take off your shoes. And it goes into a corner of a laundry room with cubbies that you can move up and down all over the place. So anyway, I built that into 4 pieces, and I assembled it in the garage, like roughly assembled it just to kind of see how scale wise how it would look, and then I started pre-finishing each of the pieces. So I painted everything individually. Mm-hmm. And then when I'm sorry. That was popcorn kernel went to the back of my throat.
Dang popcorn kernels. Was that one lurking in the back, the abyss of your mouth?
It was spot welded to the back of my tongue, you know?
Like, hold now.
He's breathing in.
Gag him.
Oh, that's better. Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh. Anyways, it's still there. Okay. Okay, quick side note. Do you ever cough and realize I sound a lot more like my dad than I thought I did?
Not yet. I'm sure that's coming down the pike.
That's what I think every time I cough now.
Yeah.
I feel like I sound exactly like my dad when I cough.
The thing I sound most like my dad about now is whenever I burp and it's a chunky burp, I say Ralph. And he always...
You do Ralph?
That's my dad's go-to. He goes, Ralph. and every time there's a chunky burp, that's what I do now. And I stop and I'm like, oh, there it is.
Why is it chunky? Like, well, how is that working?
Yeah, sometimes, things...
I don't know.
Sometimes your body doesn't work right.
Okay, that I'm a little more familiar with.
You didn't digest everything. You didn't chew good. I don't know what it is. It just comes back up and...
Something gets caught halfway and yep, I get that. Well, anyway, going back to my project, so I built that thing in 4 pieces and then painted them all, stained the other pieces, smaller pieces, and then I assembled it in their laundry room. Wow, Jared, real interesting.
So is this a friend, family, referral, random
This was a
happenstance?
customer of my day job.
Mm.
And they happened to be like, hey, we want this.
We like your wood.
Do you know anybody? And I'm like, actually, I do. I do cabinetry for a hobby. Oh, cool. Right. Well, how much do you think it would be for this? And that's a really like Cliff Notes version of that.
Sure.
But because for a while there, like we hadn't talked for a year, and her husband was originally going to do it. And he has some medical problems. I don't know what they are. But he looks very sickly now.
Oh.
That sounds terrible. He doesn't look sickly, but you can tell like he's not in the best health.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to start woodworking and he thought he was going to do it. And I actually feel bad almost doing it because I feel like I took it away from him.
Yeah.
Which as a guy is kind of hard.
Sure.
I mean, you know how that is. Like if somebody else does something that you feel like I'm a man and I should be able to do this for my family type of a thing.
I generally don't like people doing things for me. Or at least I don't accept it very well.
No, I don't either.
It's not, I'd rather do it myself.
Yeah.
If I can. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
It always feels like you failed.
Yeah.
I always feel
And
that
woodworking too, especially, is kind of like one of those things where like, well, I should be able to do this.
way. Yeah.
So when somebody else has actually invested the time to figure it out, it makes more sense for that person to do it. If
I mean, I don't think that it's a. Granted, this is coming from me having 7 years of experience now and growing up in a family where I would say my dad is way more than average handy.
right,
But that's just because, I mean, he grew up doing everything with my great-grandfather. I mean, my great-grandfather was a dentist, and my dad did farming with him. He did woodworking with him. And then my dad had an interest in diesel mechanics.
oh, I didn't know that.
So, well, diesel engines, I should say, not the mechanics, but more so the engines.
Right.
And yeah, so my dad rebuilt engines, like would bore out the like where the pistons go and everything.
Great.
And which is so weird to me because now he's been doing heating and cooling all his life.
Did he do it for a different company? Then did he
The
work?
diesel mechanic?
Yeah. Did he?
No,
work
he
at
was
a
going.
shop?
He was going to school for it, to a trade school, and my dad or my grandfather, all of his other kids had stopped helping him do heating and cooling, so he lost his workforce essentially, and things were rough back at home. So my dad actually quit going to college to come back and help my grandfather keep running the family business. And so my dad did it more out of necessity.
Interesting.
And then he progressed it to what it is now, but because my grandfather was, I mean, this is something we found out more from my grandma recently, is my grandfather was not super great in the business end of things. Like he would just do things for people and not charge them.
Oh.
And I mean, on one hand, I think that's kind of cool, but also it's a really bad way to run a business. Mm-hmm. Especially if you have six kids.
Yeah.
Like, there was some questionable stuff that my grandma tells me about. Anyways, but yeah. So my dad fell back into it, doing that. Yeah. What are you doing?
Gotcha. I feel
What are you
like
doing?
once you listen to this, you're gonna hear me breathing. So I was gonna put this thing.
I don't think you do,
No?
but I'm not sure now. We've only listened to
Guess
one
we'll
pre-record.
Guess we'll figure it out. I do know. I apologize for all the times I've been eating and burping and stuff.
Into the microphone. I've been
That's
doing it
gonna-
this whole time.
Yeah. Oh, I also need to get a different chair next time. Keep leaning back too far.
Mine is making my butt fall asleep, to be real honest. I know it's just a lawn chair, but it's not going super well at this point.
The early stages.
Oh my gosh, I haven't played any this episode. I
No.
should do something. We're 14 minutes in and I haven't touched the controller.
Well.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the second to final place. I don't know what it's called. Apparently they have state names on them.
What?
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Maybe? Okay. Anyways, I
Colorado.
will start that on the next episode of
Smart Donkeys.
Donkeys.
Beat you.
Yeah, you did. Go ahead.
Nailed it.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Who's
Probably
the
too loud.
Who's the big boy? Yeah, you did nail it.